This is Rude Tudors, hosted by English Renaissance expert Liz Rodriguez and nerdy laywoman Nicole Keating. Join our raunchy jaunt through the historical and the hysterical as we explore the weirdness of the past and its presence in the present.
So I'm sitting in a backwards chair right now, Nicole, and
keeping it real.
That seems to have brought up some stereotypes about teachers with you.
Yeah, you're a cool teach.
I am a cool teach.
But my question is, if you turn the hat around, does that negate the backwards chair?
It's like a double negative?
Yeah.
It might.
I don't not want to.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
There are only so many levels of that repetitive negation that people can process. It's the same thing with like, they know that I know that they know that I know that they're dumb. So like, how many regressions?
Do they know or do they not know that you're dumb? I'm still confused.
All I know is that they are dumb. That's been established. I don't know who they is.
And
I'm a teacher.
Or not they know. Yeah.
Someone in a student evaluation once called me a badass. That's the best evaluation I've ever gotten.
Eaten an entire cake just to celebrate.
Badass cake.
Badass cake.
Badass cake. Cake. I'm a badass cake.
I think that you should probably just take that little sample, put it in the background of a song, and platinum hit.
So I'm going to sample myself.
Sample yourself.
Sample my podcast. No one's ever done that, I don't think.
Probably not.
Oh, although Beyonce did sample that TED Talk.
Beyonce sampled that TED Talk, and Amanda Palmer sampled Strindberg and Helium, that old YouTube series.
Really?
It's like an animated online thing. Yeah, and she sampled that in one of her songs.
This is an achievable goal for us, I think is to get this podcast sampled. So
even if it's by us, so.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully by Beyonce. If not by Beyonce, then by us. So we were talking about armor.
Yeah.
Armor was something that was an important enough part of life and of England's history and culture that it needed to be legislated in certain ways.
Gotta lay down the law about those plates and chains.
Exactly. Is that a rap lyric? Is that from a rap song?
That's from my song, Badass Teach, which is about you. Wherein I sample your podcast.
I love it when you write songs about me, Nicole. Now, we already know, or we, meaning you and me, we already know that there are all kinds of laws about what people can wear. Like what colors they can wear, what kind of sword they can carry out in public. That's for the king only. Not allowed. And Cruella de Vil, I think she was really into ermine.
That was post.
Oh, that was Dalmatians. Never mind.
Ermine, Dalmatians, I get them confused.
Dalmatian fur was also outlawed.
for peasants.
For peasants during the Renaissance. So there was this piece of legislation that I want to focus on because talking about laws that were passed is one of my favorite pastimes. And it's it's an act really that requires armor ownership. So we're going to talk right now a little bit about this act that was promulgated in 1558 entitled An Act for the Having of Horse, Armor, and Weapon. And horse is actually spelled with two S's, so it's horse, armor and weapon. And it was brought about by Mary I, who was Elizabeth I's half-sister, also known as Bloody Mary. And this was in 1558, so it was obviously right before Elizabeth came to the throne because she became queen in 1558. So we're talking about a period where this is a law promulgated by a woman, and it's at a time when England has all of these skirmishes going on for which they have to make war. Now, if there's something that I know about war, and I know a lot about war...
Oh, yeah, you're a regular soldier.
...is that it ain't cheap. Right? Then as now, it's a lot of money to put on a war. So the queen has to find a way to raise revenue and maybe even just cut out the middleman of raising that revenue and just have people do the militia making themselves.
BYO militia?
BYO militia.
And apparently BYO horses.
BYO ponies.
BYO ponies.
BYOP? Yeah.
BYOP.
So what Mary I does is she passes this act that says, hey, all you rich guys, this is what you need to own in order if you want to get with me, you better listen carefully. You need to have this much armor, this many horses. And it's really specific. It's a 7-page long document, and it's really repetitive because she says, okay, if you make this much money, this is what you need to have in your militia. If you make this much money. So I wanted to go through one of these levels of sponsorship. Like on NPR, you can get involved at whatever level is comfortable for your purse.
Did Mary offer like free tote bags if you donated at a certain level, or some sort of swag?
Free tote bags.
Be a nice incentive.
Also, Bill Curtis. Or is it Bill Curtis will call in to your voicemail and leave a message for you?
Is that really a thing you could get on NPR?
On Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Oh, jeez, that's hilarious.
So Henry VIII will call in and say, I'm Henry VIII. I am.
Henry, leave a message, beep.
I'm sure that's exactly what he sounded like.
Right?
Yeah. He did.
My historical impressions are world-renowned.
Your Henry VIII is really good. Can you do your Shakespeare impression now?
Oh, I'm Shakespeare. I write plays. Do 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 do.
Do. That's really metrical and lyrical.
That's what I've heard. From what I've heard, Shakespeare wrote in a very measured.
It's poetry.
Tone.
Yeah, it's like
so
music.
You need to have a little.
Are there any other impressions you can do from the Renaissance? What do you think Elizabeth I sounded like?
I'm Elizabeth. Spanish Armada, more like Spanish Nomada.
Elizabeth was also known for her poetry. A lot of people forget that.
Her poetry, her beautiful voice, with the sweet tones of her voice.
I don't know how you got so good at these impressions.
I'm in really high demand.
You know what else is really weird? Is you have a really good Charles Dickens impression, too.
Hi. Oh, Charles Dickens. It was the best of times. I actually know a quote of my own work. I'm sampling myself. It was the best of times.
It was the blurst. I gotta say, your Dickens is a little bit weaker than the rest.
I focus primarily on the Renaissance impressions. Mm-hmm. I'm working on Sir Kevin Bacon or Francis Bacon.
Did you just confuse Kevin Bacon and Francis Bacon?
Not actually in my mind, just in my mouth.
6 degrees of Sir Francis Bacon. Can we get
from Francis Bacon to Kevin Bacon?
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
I'm going to have to do... This is something that's going to require some research. This document's about 7 pages long, and Elizabeth goes through all of the levels of sponsorship, like I said. So here's a level of sponsorship that's kind of the higher end of the middle. You're not the richest of the rich or the poorest of the poor. And of course, we're talking about nobles. So these are people who have... They don't always necessarily have money, but they're supposed to have money. So here is who she's addressing with this act. That every noble man, gentleman, and other temporal person, after the rate and proportion hereafter declared, shall have and keep in a readiness such geldings, armor, and other furniture for the wars, at the feast, and in such sort and manner as is and shall be in this act, hereafter expressed and declared. Because that's how they talked back then. Mm-hmm. Not really. So, who are these temporal people? They're people with titles, official offices, or lands. So if you are, you got a title, or you are, well, the Justice of the Peace is actually going to come into play in a little bit. But these are people who have some sort of way to bring in money through that title. They're collecting rents, things like that. So the example that I want to give to you is for somebody who's earning an income of about £1,000 a year. Now, I calculate it, well, not I, but there's a website that can do...
The internet did it for you.
There's this place called the Internet, and there's a lot of cool stuff on it. And there are a number of these calculators that can take money from the past and convert it into now times. Now times levels. And so £1,000 back then would be about $500,000 because this is America, so we got to do that conversion. $500,000 in 2013 money.
That's
so
pretty well off. So pretty affluent.
Yes. Here's what you have to do then. Here's all the stuff and people and things you have to amass in order to not just help the queen, to comply with the law.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to need 4 horses or geldings fit for demi-lancers. And only 2 of those can actually be geldings. Now, what are geldings?
Castrated horses?
Yeah, castrated horses, because I guess they're the uncastrated ones we would think would be more masculine.
They're more warlike.
More warlike, more testosterone.
Yeah.
And like we talked about in our last episode about horse sexuality, having those kinds of projections about human sexuality get
I don't know if it's actually
horses.
true that a gelding is a little bit more fey, but I think that's kind of what they're thinking.
But I think it makes a difference, though, especially, like, we talk all the time about when our cats had their little balls caught off.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference how big they get if it happens earlier in life or later in life. So I wonder if the same thing happens with horses, where if they get gelded early in life, they just don't get as big, they don't have as much muscle tone, stuff like that.
Yeah, there was a cat I was petting once who was like a stray cat from and so he had gone throughout most of his life without being castrated, and then was taken into a shelter, balls cut off, and he was like super muscly and he looked like a linebacker. But the freaky
wore a little helmet.
I wish. I would be so cute. Oh, little helmet.
Gotta get on Etsy. Get one of
but
those.
The freaky part was, as you were petting him, he was so muscled that the muscle went up his tail. So you could feel the muscle in his tail, and it felt like an erection. It was very weird. Very strange.
A furry one, though.
Very furry.
It has a definite grain to it.
You can't brush that backwards.
Did you know that in England, do you know how they say neutered in England?
No.
Desexed.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's a little old school.
Sounds clinical. I'm going to remove your sex.
Ooh, it sounds wicked. Not like Boston Wicked, like Witch Wicked.
Witch Wicked. But not like the musical Wicked.
No.
But actual Witch Wicked.
Yeah.
So you're going to need 4 horses, only 2 of which can be gelded. And those are for demi-lancers. And demi-lancers, who carry demi-lances, so half lances, not as big. And these...
Chode lances.
Short and fat lances. I don't know how
Girthy?
Girthy.
Is the word
Excuse me. Yes. Circumferal? No, I don't know how effective a chode lance would be. Because I think it would get too blunt. You've been talking about chode lances.
I've been talking about dicks a lot this episode. So
well, we've got these microphones sitting in front of us, and they're very suggestive. Mm-hmm. So not only do you need these 4 horses, but you need all of this stuff that goes with being able to outfit them to have a demi-lancer on top. So sufficient harnesses, saddles, plus the lances themselves.
Maybe some of those cool bows like the fancy horses wear. Like Mitt Romney had that horse that did like the fancy show pony stuff. Do little bows in the hair. If I were queen, that would be in my law.
You'd be required to, if not, at least braid the hair.
Oh gosh, yes, definitely braid the hair or style in some way.
So these horses, this is heavy cavalry. That's why I think they need the big manly horses. So this is not just you need horses in order to get around. This is war making. Mm-hmm. These are war making horses. So besides those 4, you also need 6 light horses or geldings for light horsemen, and also the harnesses and the weapons that go along with it. You also need 30 corslets. Do you know what those are?
I have no idea.
Body armor. 30, which would imply you need to bring at least 30 guys inside of them.
Inside the
you
armor.
Get to throw the corslets at the queen's feet like, I did it. Oh, you want people to fight while wearing them?
Ooh, you didn't mention that. Ooh, sorry.
Technically, actually,
Queen Mary.
That's that guy.
That guy just brings the 30 corslets and is like, did it.
What? I did what you said.
I did what you asked.
That's how you get beheaded.
Oh, God.
That's how I would do.
I'd kill that guy so bad.
I mean, Bloody Mary did not.
She did not shy away from killing neckbeards.
Renaissance neckbeards. I want to make that a recurring segment on the show.
Just Renaissance neckbeard
just
things.
Renaissance neckbeard things.
And Just King things. That's another great segment.
Getting mad when a lady sends back your awesome poetry. Just neckbeard things.
Just neckbeard things.
We'll be right back with more Rude Tudors right after this brief message.
Hi guys, I'm Allie Grauer and I play Joy Jones on Space Happens. I'm here because I need your help. When we set out last spring to do a Kickstarter for Space Happens, we were completely blown away by the amount of support and love that was shown for our project by complete strangers. Not just friends, not just family, not just coworkers, but strangers. You guys helped make this happen. You proved to us that things can happen when everybody comes together for one cause. My dad is a music teacher, and he was recently diagnosed with a tumor in his stomach. On March 6th, he's gonna have surgery to remove that tumor, and that surgery is gonna remove most of, if not all of his stomach as well. It means big changes for my family. We need help. So I'm here to ask for help.
For more information about how you can help out Allie's father, please check today's show notes, or visit any of the official Fake Geek Girl, Space Happens, or Rude Tutor pages on Facebook. Now, here's more Rude Tudors.
So besides the 30 corselets, you also needed 30 Almain rivets. So German rivets.
German engineering.
That very efficient, stark German engineering. So what rivets are these flexible plate armor. So it has a front plate, it has a back plate, and thigh guards. Got to protect those upper thighs. And the way that this armor worked is it's kind of what you think about when you think about like tin can, old-timey armor, where it's like armadillo scales.
Yeah.
So they're kind of articulated. They have some movement. And actually, despite their being German, it's not considered very good armor. It was actually pretty cheap.
Really?
But that's why it was appealing, was because it was cheap. And if you just need to outfit a lot of guys, this is one way to do it. All right, so that's the armor that you're going to need. Now here is the artillery. 30 pikes, which I don't think was that hard. You just go to the woods.
Just go to the woods, grab a stick, sharpen it.
Also 20 longbows, 20 sheaves of arrows, 20 steel caps, 10 halberds. Do you know what a halberd is?
I used to know.
They talk about them, and Shakespeare talks about them, halberdiers, the guys who are halberds.
No, tell me.
Guess, what do you think? It's a type of weapon.
It's a weapon.
Based upon the name, halberd.
I feel like it's like an axe. Is it like an axe?
I want you to make a joke guess, though.
A joke guess.
What do you think a halberd sounds like? My boyfriend's a halberdier.
It sounds like he was the one who's walking and playing the drum in the fife. Or a bird named Hal.
Oh wait, that's the wrong word.
Yeah, that's the wrong word. Oops. But no, it's not, because in Much Ado About Nothing, he makes fun of the dude because he said he's playing the drum in the fife.
Yeah. I meant my humming Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yeah, that's the wrong word. That's the wrong word.
Halberds are two-handed axes.
Oh, they are axes. Oh, good. I got it right.
It's a two-handed axe, and it's what you would think of guards holding, like those long staves with the kind of dinky axe at the end. That's what a halberd is.
The rhinos in Disney's Robin Hood use
exactly. I get most of my armory knowledge from the Disney canon, particularly Robin Hood. You had a crush on Robin Hood, didn't you?
Yeah.
He was foxy.
He's definitely foxy. Yeah, I appreciate your use of the past tense there.
You're welcome. I read you generously.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is a good idea for us to do a riff track style commentary on, would be the Robin Hood movie, because that was a big cartoon for us as kids.
It was a huge cartoon.
And it has it's supposed to be vaguely medieval.
Yeah, vaguely.
Mm-hmm. So halberds are those rhino axes. And 10 hagbutts. I don't even know if I'm saying that right.
I've never heard of that.
Hagbits.
Hagbutts. I like hagbutts.
Hagbutts.
Show me them hagbutts. I don't want to look upon your hag face. Show me the hagbutt.
I think that's a line from Macbeth, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Show me your hagbutt. Hagbutts are early firearms, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. Firearms are just coming into existence at this time, which is wild to think about Renaissance people popping caps. And I don't think they were very accurate with it. I don't think they become accurate for a long time. But you were required to have 10 of them. And then finally 10 heavier kinds of helmets. Now, there was one piece of armor that was not required. Do you notice anything missing? You're going through your mental image. You're dressing your man in your mind.
Codpiece. Codpiece is definitely missing. You need to bring your jockstrap. What is missing?
Gauntlets.
Oh, your gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She specifically says that gauntlets are not required. I wonder why. Like, do the English just have such strong wrists and hands that they just don't need them?
Stereotypical English trait is strong wrists and hands.
Strong-wristed men and women. I wonder if they were just really expensive, because think about the kind of articulation that's necessary for making them.
They might also be very personalized in terms of just like not everybody's hand is going to fit in the same one.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can't standardize it to get when you have to raise an army.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. So you had to have all of this on hand, and people who worked for the county, so this was done on a county-by-county basis, and the people who worked for the county, like the Justice of the Peace, would come and check every 3 months to make sure that you had this. And if you didn't, you would get fined every 3 months.
Jeez.
Yeah, so you needed to get your stuff together because national security depends upon this. So this is serious business. So to finish up with this document, I just wanted to point out a few random weird moments because there are always those. And it's like reading a Renaissance document is like a box of chocolate in that, as the great philosopher Forrest Gump once said, you never know what you're going to get.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Wow. How wise.
It is. So there's this section in which the act is specifically repealing the old one that Henry VIII had promulgated. And I think this is just standard language in the beginning that says, hey, remember when we talked about this last time? That's gone. Here's the new one. So the beginning of this provision says, and be it further enacted by the authority aforesaid, that every person which by virtue of the act made in the Parliament holden at Westminster in the 30th year of the reign of King Henry VIII was bound to keep or find one great stoned trotting horse.
Why is your horse stoned? Oh. Or did I misread?
You're onto something. You have to get your horses mad stoned.
Oh, just because war is scary, man. They gotta take the edge off somehow.
Horses spook really easily.
They do. Have you ever been on a spooked horse?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's terrifying.
But I have been on a stoned horse.
Wow. See,
I can't tell you how that happened.
I have not been on a stoned horse, but I really think I'm missing out now.
Oh no, wait, I was just...
Have you ever looked at your hoof? I mean, like, really looked at them. Whoa.
Sometimes I think about how I'm a horse, but also I'm part of this larger community of horses that I just don't know.
I could really go for some hay right now, though.
Can you imagine? So you remember last time we talked about horses. We talk about horses a lot on this show.
I remember you asking me at the beginning of last episode whether or not I was one of those girls who liked horses, and I think I'm gradually coming to the realization that, oh my god, I was. And /am.
Remember when I told you that story about that myth about the horse who slept, the mother and the son horse who slept together?
That's right. I forgot.
If they had been stoned horses, that would have gone a lot better.
Yeah.
No, a great stoned horse, as I'm interpreting it, is a horse with big balls.
Oh.
A great stoned horse. Yeah.
Like
that would be
stoned.
hyphenated. Yeah. Great stoned. Big balled horse.
You gotta have to have big balls.
You know those lady horses love a big balled horse.
Oh yeah.
So Mary's saying, yeah, my dad said you had to do that. You don't have to do that anymore, which I think is... That's feminism, right?
My dad really cared about horses with big balls. I ain't into it so much. I'm not into it. Maybe that mom horse, though, maybe the son just didn't have big enough balls for her. Maybe it wasn't about the relation.
You know, I would. You're just not my type. I mean, you're my type in that, like, we're related.
And we're both horses.
Like, we're both horses. You're my, like, same phenotype, genotype, all of that, but you're not really... my type, because I like a big bald horse.
Like
you know that.
horse.
You saw your dad. Oh, no, wait.
Oh.
He cut and runned. There's one more weird moment in this doc I'd like to point out. And there are certain things in this world that should really go without saying.
Mm-hmm.
Don't run with scissors.
Or by the pool.
Don't run by the pool. Don't put your finger in electrical sockets. So there's something in this document that falls under all of that.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, this act says, provided also, and be it enacted by the authority aforesaid, that every person and persons charged with the finding of any hagbut, which remember is our early modern gun, any person may exercise and use shooting in the same hagbut, so that they carry not or use the same hagbut in any highway. So you know what's going on here?
No.
I think this is saying you can practice your shooting.
Yeah, that's what I got. Like, you can...
Just don't do it on the highway.
Yeah, just...
So which means that people were standing on the highways.
Like, shooting things.
Practicing their shooting.
And each other.
Each other.
People get mad dumb around guns, though.
Yeah.
And this proves that it just goes back until the very first time. People get mad dumb.
Hey, when you're practicing your shooting, maybe don't do that where people are like walking, or trying to get from place to place. You've got these crazy, inaccurate, really unreliable firearms. Maybe don't do that where there are other people around.
Yeah, the fact that it's being stated in this document means that it was happening. That people were doing it to the point that it wasn't just one guy doing it.
Verily I say unto thee, maybe we should mayhap we should practice.
Out on ye olde highway.
Out on ye highway.
No, sir, I don't
think that's a good idea.
Shush.
So don't shoot in the streets, basically.
Don't shoot in the streets.
Get your guns, don't shoot in the streets.
Oh.
So these are a lot of provisions. And like I said, this isn't even the highest level of commitment to the queen that you need to have. So there's a lot of thought being put into how are we going to regulate this militia? Who's going to provide all of this stuff? And Mary I says, you guys.
Fuck you guys. I'm going to my castle. How long do you think it took them to write that document?
Why do you ask?
I'm just curious because it is so detailed, and it is so involved, and there's so many different like tiers of membership, if you will, sponsorship. That I just imagine that was probably like a slog to get that. I think so, out.
And to have to figure out because it's not even because there are different ranges. Like if you make this much between this much and this much. You have to do this, and between this much and this much. But like I said, it's really repetitive, but I think they must have had arguments.
That's exactly what I was thinking, like workplace arguments over like somebody thought it should be 20 and somebody else thought it should be 30, and they hated each other for like 2 weeks.
It's probably over the gelding issue as well, the issue definitely. For their times.
And what about the dudes who wanted those great stone horses?
Yes.
Oh my god.
We're getting rid of the great stone horses?
But I love those guys. They always bring the party.
Me too. So, because there's no standing army, the monarch has to find some way to fight these wars, to staff the army, so we need to regularize the militia, is what Mary says to herself. And from what I can gather, this isn't the first time something like this has been promulgated. It just is the most recent revision. And the level of specificity of this act is really something to behold. At one point, it even talks about how many arrows you need to have on hand. Yeah, and what's interesting is that the enforcement of this, like I mentioned, falls on county officials, so sheriffs, justices of the peace, to enforce and inspect. Now, can you imagine having to be that justice of the peace and say,
actually, you only have 28 arrows here in your barn.
I'm just saying...
Just putting it out.
It's not me. Don't shoot the messenger. It's like tax collectors,
They probably
right?
would, and then they'd be one more arrow down, and the next justice of the peace would have to.
And it's just this never-ending cycle. They have to be charged a fine every time. Actually, this is a good scheme to keep that money rolling in.
I think this is a really good business plan, actually, that Mary has. I think
a shrewd businesswoman.
It's a little bit of a pyramid scheme, but all right. I can be into it. Let's charge them a fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Either it's a win-win situation for Mary. You refuse to comply. No, I don't know if she actually killed people over this, but she killed
let's
people over
pretend that
some
she
things.
did.
Let's pretend that she did.
Yeah.
I assume that monarchs are always homicidal.
Just like constantly killing.
Mm-hmm. Like even today, Elizabeth II. Have you seen
those cold, murderous eyes.
cold, murderous eyes?
The dead gaze of a serial killer.
So what are our takeaways about all of this? We talked about a lot today.
We did cover a lot.
We covered
Armor encompasses a lot.
Armor, and we're just scratching at the surface. And obviously there's so much information out there just about what all this armor is and how to choose good armor. But what I'm interested in is how both that armor and the accoutrements of war are important enough to legislate, but also they're an important part of someone's identity and their value and their worth in society.
Yeah.
And it's really informative. Just looking at a person in their armor, you can tell the person who's outfitting them, if it's not themselves, if it's the Lord outfitting them, you can tell how much money that person has. You can tell who the man himself works for, is loyal to, and what they're trained in, because there's different kinds of armor depending upon if you're cavalry, that's heavier stuff, or not cavalry, the half-lancers, the demi-lancers, excuse me.
Mm.
And I'm sure that just like clothing during the period, a lot of work has been done about how clothing is tied up with one sense of identity and the need to be able to read somebody just based upon what they're wearing. I wonder if armor also provides this sense of identity and immediate categorization of the person wearing it.
Definitely, I think immediate categorization. It's like shirts versus skins. You got to be able to look around and see who's who, who's related to who's potentially who's with the dude who might use his militia to dispossess you.
I wonder if there are ever any shirts versus skins battles.
Ooh.
Probably just one, and then they figure it out. Because do you ever have this problem watching movies? Really,
all movies.
Do you ever have problems watching movies?
Yes.
No, do you ever have problems watching movies that have to do with war, or really just have a lot of white guys in it?
White guys hitting each other with a shaky cam.
I can't tell them apart.
It's really hard.
I really have to
one of them
focus.
looks like a monster, like in Lord of the Rings, where they're fighting orcs. It's like, okay, I got this. I know which ones are the orcs, and I know which ones are the people. This is relatively
What is
easy.
orc armor like? They don't wear a lot of armor, do they?
I think they actually do.
Do they?
They are quite out. It seems to be a little bit more mismatched and sort of like ghetto. Like they're wearing just like almost like they're wearing. They might wear spoils of war. So if they kill a dude, they'll take part. It seems very knit together. It doesn't seem uniform.
Interesting. In Skyrim, there are orcs, and they have berserker mode, and they're best in
So do I.
heavy armor. You have
Yeah.
berserker mode?
Oh, yeah.
What does your berserker mode look like?
I just spin around in a circle and wave my arms so that if anybody comes close, I hit them. not throwing on my hands like Seinfeld, but like a wavy arm, more violent.
You undulate your arm.
I sort of look like the Tasmanian devil.
Oh, you spin really fast, and there's like this cloud of dust that follows you. Berserker mode.
It's a cloud of leg makeup.
Well, I feel like I learned a lot today, Nicole.
I always learn a lot.
That's it for this week's episode of Rude Tudors. So, if you like what you've heard, please subscribe to the show, rate it, and comment on iTunes. We would really appreciate that. You know, we're all about customer service here. Also, for more information about the show, your charming co-hosts, and the other productions that we're involved in, you have a lot of different options to get in touch with us. You can visit us at facebook.com/rudetudors. Have you heard of Facebook, Nicole?
I think so.
It's a thing.
It's a book of faces, right?
We're on it. Our faces are on it. Also, we're on the Twitter at Rude Tudors. But most importantly, you can go to rudetudors.com and find show notes, references, images, documents, things that we referenced on the show today. That's at rudetudors.com. And finally, you also have the opportunity to help us make more entertainment like this. We actually have a Patreon campaign going on right now through our mother company, Fake Geek Girl Productions, where we produce gynocentric internet comedy. It's not comedy about gynecologists.
No, though that is a tool to mine, a place to mine.
Gynocentric does kind of imply that, but no, it's woman-centric and funny-centric, I think, as well, because
Gynocentric is not. It's a funny word.
Yeah, I use it in total earnest, but also not in total earnest. And finally, if you want more, I said finally twice now, but this is really the end. If you want more information about...
Got as many endings as Lord of the Rings does.
Boom. So,
rim shot! Whoa!
So for more information on the other projects that Nicole and I are involved in, you can go to thefakegeekgirl.com. We're really excited about our new web series, Space Happens. It's a satirical space opera that we're involved in, and we have a YouTube channel. You can check that out. And that's all for now.
Ta-ta for now. Reverse pinpoint.
Badass cake.
Badass cake.
Badass.
Plates and chains.
I'm a badass cake. Cake. 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 I'm a badass cake. Cake.
Plates and chains.
I love it when you write songs about me, Nicole.